Okay, good evening, everybody. This is AKA Heather Joy, and this is the Lifeboat. Glad you guys are here. Okay, I better just get through the rules first before I start. Rule number one. This is not a political channel, and we don't discuss politics on here unless it has to do with the drug crisis that's going on. So there are appropriate times, but that's up to Tommy's discretion. So anyway, let's see. This is not, remember too, this is not a religious channel, and it is fine to say, to offer to pray for someone, or to say things like, I couldn't have gotten to sobriety without my faith. Those things are fine. But if you're telling someone, this is the reason you're not getting into heaven, or anything like that, that's right out, guys. Let's see, the third rule would be no cursing. Please refrain from swearing in both the comment section and the live chat. And the fourth one, there's absolutely no room on this boat for mean people whatsoever. If you are being mean, you're just being a troll, you're going to get banned permanently. So, just be a decent human being. That's all we ask. I think that's not too much to ask. Anyway, welcome everybody. I am a little bit frazzled right now. I was going to be talking about something completely different, and today's been, it's been a day. I know a lot of you are probably going to laugh when I tell you what has happened. I don't care. I don't care. You can make fun of me all you want. But you know that my husband and I raise chickens. It's just something we do on the side. That way we've always got a good source of protein for ourselves and for our family. And we've got a lot of chickens now. And the farm where they get to run around during the day, it's a nice big open area. It makes it possible, for the neighbors' dogs to get in. It happens from time to time. Usually it's not a problem, but today I got a call. A dog got in to the yard and started to attack our chickens. And thank goodness the guy that lives right out there. He got out and took care of the problem rather quickly. But we lost 5 of them. I mean, it's, that's not a lot when you've got more than 100 chickens. But 5 of them are gone because of this dog. And 4 of them were they had been chicks. I raised them when they were just tiny little babies. And I like I said, you guys can laugh at me all you want that I'm crying over some chickens that I lost. I don't care what you think. I really don't. My chickens mean a lot to me, especially the ones that I raise from when they're just tiny, especially when I get to see them actually hatch. And I get very close to them, and so I find that this is very, very upsetting. And I apologize, guys, but it is just terribly upsetting. I get as attached to my chickens as I do to my cat or to any of the other pets we have had. They mean a lot to me, and I put a lot of time and care and love into them, and so it is very distressing when something bad happens to them. And, this is not the first time I've lost a chicken or two to a dog. I mean, it just sucks. Somebody's lost their dog today too. The person that owned the dog, he knows that this has been a problem before, and he knew what the consequences would be if he got into the yard of this farm again. And here in Utah, I didn't know there are a lot of states like it, but I believe it's called castle doctrine, where you have the right to protect you and yours. And those chickens are not just a source of food for us. They're my pets. And I'm sorry. I was going to be talking about cannabis today, but I thought, you know what? Emergencies, very stressful things like this happens to everybody. None of us are excluded. There's always going to be something that happens in your life that is going to cause you a lot of stress. It's going to be, something that will be difficult for you to manage. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity to go over this subject. Sorry, let me just gather my thoughts here for a minute. I apologize, guys. It's just that they mean, little chickens mean a great deal to me. I mean, they're living creatures just like you and I. They have emotions, and they feel things, and they have their own personalities. I mean, most of my chickens, they know their names. When I call them, they know their names. I'm sorry, this is so upsetting to me, but you know what? This is going to happen. Something like this is going to happen to everybody. None of us are excluded from emergencies and things of this nature. Is just something that we need to be prepared for. And I firmly believe that, especially those of us that are recovering addicts, this is something that we really do need to be prepared for. We need to know what we're going to do when we're faced with something like this, because sobriety is something that you do not win back easily. And once you have that sobriety, you want to protect it. You don't want there to be anything that can happen that would take, your sobriety away from you, and you're the only one that can control that. But, this is something that we all need to be ready for. The first thing, I'll tell you what, the first thing I did after I got the phone call was I dropped to my knees and I just went to God and just asked him for strength to get through this. These were my feathery little pets. They're my kids. They're the second thing I did was I got on the phone. I have a list of people, hopefully you all have a list of people that you can call in an emergency when something, that's highly stressful happens. You respond with a lot of emotions, just depending on what the emergency is. But it's something, if it's an emergency, it's going to trigger a stress response in you. It's going to trigger that fight or flight. And one of the best things to do right away is, to have us, some support. What that does, and I know I've said this over and over again, but your limbic system, the center area of your brain is where, that's the area of your brain where all of the emotions, that part, that's where all of that is controlled. And if you are highly stressed, uh, those emotions, those feelings are going to be very strong, and they're going to be very loud. As far as when you hear things in your brain going off, the one that's screaming the loudest is going to get the attention. Well, that sounds silly, but the best thing to do is to either sit down and write in your journal or get on the phone and talk to somebody. Move all of the thoughts that are so heavily laden with emotions, move those from your midbrain up to your prefrontal cortex, of where this is your adult, your the adult part of you. This is your rationality. This is where you think things through. So it's so important to, write it out or talk it out. Very important. It's not going to, it's not going to fix the situation right away, but you need to get a hold of your emotions. When we react, anytime we have a reaction that is based purely on emotion, it's not that's not a wise thing to do. It's not very controlled. Yeah, you want to have the adult part of you thinking things through when thoughts are so heavily laden with emotion. Anyway, I have a list, and I'm grateful that I have a list that's got a lot of people on it, because my first choice to call, I already know I couldn't call her just because of what she's going through right now. So I called Ladybug, and because I knew she would understand, that definitely helps when you're struggling with something. If the person that you're going to talk to knows where you're coming from and knows how important things are to you, knows what your priorities are, and very helpful. I wouldn't have called someone who would have just made fun of me because I'm crying because I lost chickens. I know a lot of people think it's just chickens, but it's just that not many people have had it. There aren't all that many people that can raise chickens and have somewhere to keep them and all that. And people just don't know that these little birds make wonderful pets, just like a cat or a dog. In all seriousness, but what good would it have done if I called someone that was going to make fun of me for that? And it's happened before. I've been made fun of because I get so attached to my little critters. Anyway, it is so important who you call. Support is the most important thing in in a situation like this. And like I said, any kind of situation, that triggers a stress response in you, it's going to, especially, it's going to make us, being, people who are very well acquainted with addiction, and, we're well acquainted with, this type of thing. And we know how difficult it can be to manage these things. The last thing that, what we have done for so long is turned to our drug of choice, or to, behavior that does that in the end releases dopamine. Any behavior, any kind of drug, any kind of substance like that. I mean, that's what we did for a long time to cope, instead of, staring at the problem right in the face and, and figuring out what to do and, solving problems. We didn't do that. We numbed ourselves. We numbed ourselves, or, it's an escape. But you're not dealing with the actual problem. And then the end, it just does a lot more destruction than any help it could be. And that's the last thing we want as addicts, is to have something upset us so badly that we turn back to that drug of choice. It's just not worth it. And that guy said, sobriety is too dear. It's too difficult. It's too hard won to be careless and not be careful with it. So I feel like it is so important that you know what you're going to do if you have an emergency situation. This is something, as addicts who are trying to maintain sobriety, this is something very important. You don't leave it to chance. This is something you need to write down. You need to plan it out. This needs to be well thought out. Because I said that sobriety is too dear. It's too hard one to be careless with it. It's just the way it is. So I know that, one of the first things that I thought was remarkable about the boat, when I found you guys back it was last year in October. Sorry, I'm trying to, I apologize, guys. I'm trying to think this through. Okay, the first thing I pulled out I've got my old psychiatric nursing textbook right here. I pulled it out because I know I've made notes throughout this whole thing. And I was looking up mediators of the stress response. There's two different types of stressors that you're going to run into. It's either going to be something that's going to affect you physically, or it's going to affect you psychologically. And in most instances, it's probably a combination of both in the end. But that can, a physical stressor can be, almost anything. I mean, it could be, extreme heat, extreme cold, could be just, contaminants in the environment. What if there's a huge fire somewhere, and all of the smoke and the ash that, in the area. I mean, there's just so many different things that can cause physical stress, but it's the same thing with psychological stress as well. There's a myriad of things that can go wrong that are going to, that's going to stress you out. That's going to trigger that fight or flight response in you. And it's going to push you, you're going to, you might start having cravings. You might start thinking of how you used to deal with things, Our brains just do that, no matter how hard we fight it. Sometimes that's just the way our brains are. But I was just looking through all of the things that I had written all throughout this book, and when there's many things that can help determine how a situation's going to turn out, and that varies just as much as people do from person to person. It depends on what your temperament is. As far as you react, it depends on, what are your childhood experiences. There's, what coping strategies do you have, or that you have been taught, or that you've learned? I mean, there's just there's so many things that go into it, and everybody has their own vulnerabilities and their own strengths. Everybody's different. So, what pushes one person's buttons is not necessarily going to push the next person's. But I keep seeing throughout all of my notes throughout this whole chapter, the overall thing here is support and support groups. I just seen that everywhere throughout here. It does it how things turn out and how well you handle an emergency has a lot to do with your support or your lack thereof too. But that's one of the most important things. Um, people. I don't know. This trying to put my thoughts in order here so I can explain this, guys. As far as support, it can come in so many different ways. Your family, or your friends, or the lifeboat. What an awesome family that is, you guys. But there's different religious groups, colleagues, people you work with. There's so many different places that you might have support. But I just keep seeing this over and over throughout this chapter where there's such a strong correlation between good support systems and good outcome of any emergency. So, that the things that Tommy is always drilling into our heads really do make a lot of sense. We're encouraged to have a list of 5 people that you can call when you're in an emergency, when when something upsets you, that shakes you, like what happened to me today. It just helps so much to talk it out. Really important that you have those 5. Tommy's not telling us this stuff just to have something to say at all. It is really, really important that you've got a strong list of at least 5. And it's always a good idea to always have more in the back of your mind that you can call, because sometimes I've had it happen to me in the past where I called almost every single person on my list before I found somebody available. Please, you guys have got to get that 5. Really, really important. What is that on the Facebook page? If you guys are new and you haven't made it over to the Facebook group, that's a really good place to go. And it's a good place to start to get to know people and find, you can find your 5 that way. If there is someone you've made a connection with on the lifeboat, whether it's through chat or through, talking to them personally, whatever. That the boat is a very good place to find, your 5, because we all share in that we have an addiction, and that in our past we have had a very poor ways of dealing with emergencies. So please, have that list of 5. Excuse me. That's a really, really important one. And again, journaling. I've got a great deal to write about tonight before I go to bed, and I've got to get it out of my head. I find I sometimes just writing out all my frustrations, and doing so, I actually find I give myself the answer in many cases. But I can't say again, enough about journaling as well. It's just as important as having those 5, especially when you're very new in your sobriety. That's a really shaky time. So it's really important that you have people that you can trust, that you can call, and that'll be there for you. Really, really, really important, guys. Um, I'm just trying to look through all of my notes, and I'm just, there's so many things that can cause, psychological stress. So many different things, and that just it varies from person to person because we are all very different that way, and what is going to bother one person might not necessarily bother the other person at all. And so I'm also asking you guys, when if you are there for one another, if you have, hopefully you've got people you can call, and hopefully they're, you get the opportunity to be there for someone else, because it helps tremendously. Um, being on both ends, it really does. It's very helpful. Now I forgot. I had a point to that. I was going somewhere with that. I'm sorry, guys. Still feeling rather distressed. Anyway, there's just a myriad of things that can cause that stress. But when you get stuck in the stress, when your heart rate jumps up and your blood pressure jumps up, and you've got all of those thoughts just going through your head like crazy, and it's a difficult place to be in, especially for us as addicts. It's difficult. But any stress that raises your anxiety. And I want to mention this too: good things can cause a great deal of stress as well. Just because they're good doesn't mean that they're not going to be stressful. I'm talking of things like a marriage, or oh, guys, my daughter just got engaged today. I'm sorry, it's been such an emotional day. But I forgot, I meant to have her and her boyfriend's picture all queued up to show you, but he asked her to marry him today, and of course she said yes, and I'm so excited for them. Very excited for them. This has been a day full of emotion, that's for sure. But things like an engagement or a marriage, or a new job, or a new house. I mean, anything, even if it's positive, can still cause you a lot of stress, and it's something that you need to be mindful of and be ready for. Um, because the first thing that you are going to want to do, especially if you're newly sober or just trying to find that sobriety, the first thing you're going to want to do is go right back to that drug of choice. You want that escape, that's especially at first, that's all that we really want, and it can be very, very difficult when you're newly sober to try and fight that craving or fight that urge. It can be very difficult. And I want to assure you that the longer you're sober, the easier it gets. Uh, it doesn't go away completely at all. I mean, I think today is the first day I actually thought of my old drug of choice, just for a brief second. And there's so many times things that happen now. I mean, it's been 15 years, things that happen very often. A craving doesn't even come into mind anymore, but it did today. I was just very upsetting the way I ever act on it. But it happens. It's something you need to be prepared for, because whether it's a good or bad thing, if it's causing you stress, then you need to have a very constructive, helpful way of dealing with that. uh, I'm just looking over my notes here. uh, once something raises your anxiety, raises your stress. Um, it depends on, whether you have a defense mechanism. Oh, sorry, just checking. Sounded like somebody was trying to click on, and you guys are welcome to call in and click on to, that the right underneath here. That link right there. Anyway, it just depends on your defense mechanisms, your individual coping responses, your your spiritual cultural support, I heard that again. Okay, somebody trying to come on. I keep hearing somebody's trying to pop on and I can't see who it is. I can't. Dang it. Apologize, guys. Don't understand. I don't know. If you're trying to get on, I'm not sure why I can't see you. Anyway. If it's, whether or not, the thing is that what I was trying to get at was, it's really good idea to be prepared. Come here, honey. It's a really good idea, to know what you are going to do when you're put in a stressful situation. That really, what you do to cope is going to determine the outcome, whether or not you successfully deal with the stress or not. And the last thing that we want to do as addicts is to relapse. Just don't want that. And there's so many different things you can do to help cope. Music can be very powerful, both for calming you down and helping you feel more peaceful, but also as a form of expression. I find when I'm very angry about something, I find that getting in the car, turning System of a Down up really loud, maybe some Five Finger Death Punch, but some Disturbed, just some really angry, very expressive music that way. If I get in the car and I crank those up and I just drive for a while, for me, it works. It works. It helps me express my anger and my frustration. And music can be something very, very powerful. Because this guy right here, this sweetie, he knows I'm upset, and he always knows when I need him. And pets can be so helpful to us. They love us and they don't care what we look like. They don't care. They just love us. And sometimes we need that. But, pets very, very helpful. What I'm going to do as soon as I'm finished with this stream is go for a run, because honestly, that is my way of coping with so many things now. I'm always, if I have something serious I need to cope with, my favorite way is to go for a run. I'll just get that itchy, gotta get out of here feeling, and exercise can be extremely helpful, you guys, to work out negative emotions or frustration. And it doesn't have to be anything, what is the word? High impact, I guess it would be the word I'm looking for. You don't have to go running. You don't have to do anything. Gosh, you guys, I apologize. I cannot think today. I'm sorry. Anyway, you don't have to go all out with your exercise. Even just stretching out, sitting on the floor and doing some yoga, anything like that can be very, very helpful. But if you are struggling with something negative and you are able to get some high impact movement in there, that seriously helps. A 12-pound medicine ball picking that up and slamming it on the floor over and over. Very helpful. Oh my goodness. When I was in rehab, they used to keep these old cars in the back of the lot. It was like a big, almost like a compound where I was. That had like the men's building and the women's building and just different buildings. But in the back, they kept a couple of old cars, and everybody got a few chances to take a sledgehammer to these cars. I mean, it had to be part of it had to be part of your counselor's plan, and they would know, at the right time to turn you loose with a sledgehammer. But very effective, guys. Very exhausting too. But that was very helpful. I'd forgotten all about that. Uh, let's see. Massage. I'm trying to think of. There's so many different things that you can do to help deal with the stress. Massage is another really good one. A distraction of some kind can be very, very beneficial. So Monty Python right now would be very helpful for me, just as a good distraction. But but what I'm in the end, what I'm trying to say is, whatever plan of attack you have in dealing with something stressful, it needs to have, the outcome in the end needs to be that you are still sober. Nothing is worth getting so upset over that you ruined your sobriety. There's nothing. Sometimes the way that you sorry guys, this is just an interesting day. I apologize. I'm trying to get this together. I'm sorry guys. See, this happens. It's gonna happen. Something like this will happen to every one of you, where something unfortunate is going to happen that is going to stress you out. And you need to know what you're going to do. I highly encourage you to write down a list of things that you can do to help you cope. Not just don't just have your 5. Know what works for you. Know the things that might help. Like I know for me, running is one of the ways. Certain types of music in certain situations, but I want you to write down things that work for you. I want you to have a list so that when you're stuck in a situation like I find myself in today, you know what you're going to do. You know how you're going to handle it. Please, write these things down. Make a list of things that you can do to either, there's like self-soothing. I talked about that when we were talking about the DBT therapy. Distraction and soothing yourself are very helpful ways, very helpful things. I know later on I'm gonna have a very long bubble bath. There's something about water that always makes me feel so much better. Please write down the things that work for you. And I would encourage you to have quite an extensive list, because you never know where you're going to be or what time it might be. Some of the things that you prefer to do might not be available to you at that point. So you need to have a good list of how you're going to deal with it. And I always think of my brother when we were little kids. My brother, I remember when he first got into Boy Scouts, and then later he was in the Boy Scouts, and I was really jealous because they were, their motto, being prepared, such a big deal, and I was really jealous of the things that they got to do. All they'd go out and on these camps, and they would, bring up, they'd make up these scenarios where they would have to do first aid, and they'd practice that, and they were always practicing things, tying knots and building fires and building shelters. And I mean, I was so jealous that I didn't get to go and do those things with, my brother. And every time he'd go, like maybe the Klondike Derby or something, and he'd come home, I'd make him sit down and tell me all about it. Now, who was there and what did you guys do? And I was really jealous, but I've always admired that about the Scouts, is that that was what they were doing, was being prepared. And for us, again, I know I keep saying this, but it is so important as addicts that we have a plan, that we are prepared. You've got to know what you're going to do, because you know where you're going to end up if you don't. So, like I said, please, sit down and make a plan out. Maybe perhaps, first of all, just a short-term one, to get you through a day of something. Maybe you get a phone call and your mother's had a heart attack. How are you going to deal with that? What are you going to do? I want you to think of some scenarios that could happen to you. I want you to think them through from the beginning to the end. And imagery can be so powerful. I want you in your mind to imagine yourself doing the different activities that you write down. Imagine yourself doing them. Imagine those things being effective to help mitigate the stress that you will be feeling. And imagine a good outcome. It's really important to keep a positive attitude in any situation. The outcome is always going to be better at the end, but that for us, more than anything, the end result needs to be that we hang on to sobriety. Really important. So again, when you are imagining different scenarios and how you're going to deal with them, what actions are you going to take to get you through? Imagine it ending positively, that you're sober, and that the things that you do are effective in helping you. You'd be surprised. I know it might sound silly just doing, imagining, but it is very powerful. It really is. I want you guys to do a little homework, and run a few scenarios through your head and be ready, so that when you get a call on Sunday, a dog just killed 5 of your chickens, I just want you guys to be prepared and know what to do. You're already really smart because you're here on the lifeboat. I know, in all seriousness, you're already smart. You are looking for good solutions. Definitely come to a good place. But some of the other things I was thinking about too, very often when you have an emergency, it might not be just that day. It might be something that ends up that might be, go long term, that you might have to deal with. That is always a possibility. So just a few things I want you to remember too. Whatever methods you use, whatever your coping mechanisms are, you need them to be healthy ones. You want to, stress, when you're under stress, your body's releasing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And you don't want your body to stay in a permanent fight or flight state. It's not healthy for you. Your immune system is on guard when you're under stress. But for many people, their immune systems can be overly stimulated, and they can end up with, well, like with the situation with me, and as far as I have an autoimmune disorder. My immune system attacks my own body because I have been stressed out in my past, for so long. It's something kind of permanent, and it does make a mess of your health. So, if you are in um, a stressful situation, I want you to plan to take good care of your health. Eat properly, get sleep. I know that's a crazy thing to say when you're really stressed out. Sometimes sleep can be very difficult to find, but that's very, very important. If your emergency turns out to be long term, you do, take good care of yourself, your body, your physical health, and your responses are going to be better and healthier if you are taking good care of yourself, if you're eating properly, if you're getting the sleep that you need, um, if you're getting the exercise that you need. And it's so important to get sunshine and fresh air. Oh goodness, for your health, for your mental well-being, everybody needs to get outside. But do things that are going to help you and that are going to sustain good health. They're really, really important. Um, let's see, I was just looking through, reducing the amount of caffeine that you take in too is a really good idea if you are under a lot of stress. Reduce your caffeine intake because you do want to get some good restful sleep. Good sleep helps you deal with things. It helps kind of soften the edges of everything. Honestly, I know, today has been very upsetting, but I know tonight when I sleep, I wake up in the morning, it's not going to hurt as much. There's something about sleeping and dreaming that it does it. All of those corners that, stick you in your mind when they are kind of filed down or softened or something the next day. I always feel better the next day. And remember that too, that you need to tell yourself this is not going to last like this. It's not going to stay like this. This is just temporary. But be gentle with yourself too. Remind yourself you are capable of handling whatever it is. You need to believe in yourself. Be gentle with yourself. I mean, don't, if you do relapse, in a situation, please be gentle with yourself. Do not, kick yourself and, do all of that negative self-talk that we become so good at. Don't cut yourself down and tell yourself what a miserable piece of, don't do that. Please remain positive. If you do slip up, don't let it be a permanent slip. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep on moving. You know, don't don't fall into another hole where you're permanently stuck in your addiction again. You know, everybody. I think relapse is honestly part of recovery. It does happen, but it's not the end of the world, and it's nothing to beat yourself up over. You know, I'm not saying it's okay either, but again, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving. Don't give up. I apologize, guys. I'm trying to straighten all my thoughts out in my head so that I can make a little more sense, but I'm struggling, guys. Yeah. I'm sorry. It looks like somebody's still trying to pop up here, and I don't know. I don't know why I can't see who it is. Oh, it looks like Lemmy. Lemmy. I don't know why. Great. Okay, there I'm back. Okay. I apologize for the internet, you guys. It's been trying to storm here, and when it storms, the end of the valley where I am, for some reason, we just have really crappy Wi-Fi, and that's probably why people are popping up. Oh, there. Okay, had to stream. All right,
Oh,
Levy,
see,
welcome. We see you.
well, thank you. It's just my face. But yeah, I thought you needed a hand, maybe a hug, a virtual hug, something like that. And
Oh,
hello,
I'll take
everybody
it,
on the
gladly.
lifeboat.
I apologize. I'm not sure why. I think it's my poor internet is part of the problem why I couldn't get you on before. But
There's a learning curve to StreamYard, and I had my tinctures out.
oh dear, now you're breaking up a little bit. I know it's on my end too.
Gotcha. But I just wanted to come on, say hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for all the love out there. I love you all so much. You really helped me out. The lifeboat is
Levy,
such
I'm
an
so
adventure.
sorry. You are coming in and out like a robot, and I can't understand what you're saying. I'm so sorry.
It's probably my microphone. Is it that bad? Yeah, I'll step out. Oh, and now we lost Heather. So, can anybody hear me? Can I get like a 5x5 or something like that if you can hear me? It's clear. Todd G, you can hear me. So, anyways, sorry Heather got out of there. Anyways, hope everybody's doing great tonight. I never thought I'd be here, but I sure am glad to be here. Um, what were we doing, anyways? The whole thing was, how you're going to handle an emergency, and you know, doing something, anything. It like Heather was saying, is going to keep your mind off of.
Okay, let's see. Get the volume back up here.
Keep your mind.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, I'm back up now. I can hear you now. I haven't been able to hear you.
well, yeah, and I think it's kind of
Let's know I
a
got my.
bad microphone.
Oh, great. Now I'm. What is. Okay, I can't hear anything now. This is.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Okay, now I can hear you. It keeps
Okay,
going in and out.
and you can see me.
Now I can see you. Yes.
Okay. Sometimes I don't want to be on camera. I like to be the guy behind the camera.
Yeah.
But I'm not camera shy. That's for sure. Um, but like right now, I wish I was walking, going for a walk, but I'd rather be here. You know, and if I was to go for a walk down the street, I'd have to, be very careful because there's a lot of dangerous things out there in my neighborhood. That's for certain.
Oh dear.
That's okay. I know where to go, when to go, and you know,
Good.
basically how to carry myself. And I've lived here 8 years. I'm not really scared of the neighborhood. I'm very cautious about it. But I was curious. What are some of you guys like to do to take your mind off of things? Can anybody throw something out there, a comment or something like that?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. What are your preferred methods of coping?
Um, well, I coming here is one. Another, I watch a lot of comedy on YouTube. Um, I try to watch a little bit more comedy than First Amendment auditors like myself. But I watch people like myself for the education because I'm kind of new to it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I love to sing, but
Oh, cool.
the temptation to drink is there if I go to the bar to do
Uh-huh.
karaoke. And I'm pretty sure I could do it. Go there, drink my ginger ale, and sing. But do I want to be around
Mm.
that? One of my brother's friends is asking me to come over today, and have a beer with him. Because he misses my brother. I miss my brother, but it's not a reason to drink. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
it's probably the best reason not to drink. As a matter of fact, and I think you know, I just don't know how much I want to be around my brother's friends because
Mm.
they remind me of him and how much I miss him.
Yeah.
So it's
That's a tough one right there in that situation, where you're
yeah, and this is a lot lifelong friend. This is somebody went to high school with. Now the people that lived across the street from him, the junkies, we all know, but they're not here. They're hopefully someday they will be, but he was he was living in one of the worst neighborhoods in this city, and he was letting homeless people come into his home, letting them take showers, and it ends up that's
Mm.
that's how he passed
I am so
because
sorry.
a good heart and a good
Yeah.
person, and but you did I don't know, I like to just go downstairs and punch the heavy bag sometimes.
Hmm.
Just uh, kick it. Who knows?
That definitely helps.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. I do like to go out and look for scrap. I roll around with my wire cutters and get all the cords off the vacuum cleaners that I can and fans that are sitting out on the curb. I got about 40 feet of wire on the way home tonight.
Are
So
you looking for copper? Is that what you're?
I do. I find copper and I pick up aluminum um,
Okay.
and a brass. I drive a tiny little Kia Rio. I can't scrap steel. You got to carry too much of it to make it worth anything. But
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
um, I watch these guys melt down metals too, do smelting, and that's
Oh yeah.
kind of one of the things I want to do. I have all these empty beer cans in the garage. I don't know how they got there, but I'm going to take all the tabs off of them, and
Well, as long as they're already empty,
they're already empty. They are. Matter of fact, the other night, I sent Johnny a video. I was having a craving for some beer, and I remembered I had some cooking brandy in the refrigerator,
Hmm.
and I poured it down the drain.
Good move.
You know,
Ah, very good move. You,
yeah,
yeah, this means a lot to you.
I
This
yeah,
means a lot to you, and you can tell.
it's my health is not doing well, and I'm a lot. I'm overweight considerably for what I should be. I want to get back into martial arts, so I want to make YouTube my thing. You know,
Mhm.
it will be. It'll happen. I'm positive. I'll be one of the best auditors out there. So
I love that. That takes some nerve, you know. It really does. That's cool. I don't think that's anything I could do myself. That's
it's a little scary, just a
yeah.
little bit. I mean, I've had a lot of people in my face, and like a couple weeks ago, the guy charging me with a sledgehammer. So
Whoa.
that was a little on the crazy side.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever drew my gun,
Oh,
and
really?
he dropped his hammer, and I'm thankful for that because I never wanted to draw my gun,
Yeah.
and it scared me because I almost took a life, but his intent was to take mine.
Wow. That's terrifying. That's what did you do once the situation was done? How did you calm yourself down and deal with that? That's terrifying.
That took me a few days, because you know and I'm still a bit freaked out about it because you know I came very close, and
Yeah. Yeah, that would have
yeah,
been yeah. Get rub
yeah.
your nerves a little bit, a little raw. It's wow. You are so kind to jump up here, and thank you. And I
Welcome.
apologize that I couldn't get you on right away. I think it's just the crappy internet that I've got right here now.
Well, I know there's a lot of people out there that could easily jump up here. The thing is that link in the video,
Uh-huh.
if you click it, it pauses the video. You actually have to put that link in the description of the video.
Okay.
That way somebody can click it and come in. I did
Mhm.
post it in the
In the
Miss
chat.
Dragon. Thank you for putting my channel up there. Awesome. Uh,
Oh yeah,
but
that's awesome.
yeah, and I put it in the chat so it could be clicked in, but I actually just typed it in and I wrote down the PV whatever stuff on here.
Uh-huh.
You know, uh,
Okay, so I need to do something different about that then. Okay. There's got to be, I know there's a way to pin comments up in the
it
comment section. I just don't know how to do it through StreamYard yet, but I'll get that figured out so that
actually you have to do it in YouTube. So
you
you
could.
go back, yeah, you go back to the YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
then where the comment is, there will be the three drop down buttons.
Mhm.
Click on that, and then you should be able to pin one. I can
Okay.
only hit report or block because I'm not an admin, but you should be able to pin it to the top, and it gives
Okay.
you that.
That's
Um,
what I will do from now on.
Otherwise, just put it in the description when you're setting up the video. I think you.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can do that or
I
not.
can.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, just put it in there. It's really easy. I
Yeah.
I, I used to be on the Patriot Brothers. 2 years ago, we did a stream, and there'd be like 8 of us talking about, you know, things that we won't talk about here. So,
Yep, I understand.
because it was that politics thing.
Yeah.
So, but, I don't do that. I don't watch television. Don't watch it. But
You're better off, honestly.
this YouTube thing, you ever hear of it? It's pretty cool. You get to choose what you want to watch.
And
You
when you
know,
want to watch it,
after 5 seconds, you can skip a commercial. It's awesome. You can go to people's pages and compliment them or just rag on them if you want. Um, I don't do the latter, but it's just there's so much that we can all do. We could all get together and have a sing along in one of these or something.
I have a friend that does karaoke on. We could have a karaoke night
I
on YouTube.
I
It's a
was
lot of
trying
fun.
to. I can't figure out how to do it because I can get my voice, but I can't get the music to carry through to the video. I've tried it a few times.
I'll have to have him. I'll have to have him do a karaoke night for us if you guys are interested. That would be a lot of fun. I've done it before, online, and it's a lot of fun, and
Woo!
it's just fun to be goofy and and to relax and let your hair down and
Wharton Thistle, thank you for subscribing.
oh, that was very nice. Well, it is the top of the hour, and I am going to close this. But thank you so much, Lemmy, for jumping up, and I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that. Thank you. It just,
Anytime.
I know I love all you guys, and it just is very helpful when you've got that support, So,
Can I answer Mr. Ray Ray?
oh, go ahead, yeah.
What's the fine line between auditing and harassment?
Yanni.
When you're filming in public, it's not really harassment. The way you would harass somebody by filming them is following them around constantly or pushing the camera right up in their face. What I find though is when I'm filming in public, standing back 6-10 feet away from people, it's the ones that get angry, that come up with their phones and they stick them like an inch away from my nose.
Oh dear.
That's harassment. I never put anything in anybody's face, but they'll put their face right up to mine. They'll put their cameras in my face. They'll come at me with hammers. Yeah, whatever. I had this lady throw a pop at me like this, and I watched it fly 20 feet to the left of me and laughed at her. I don't know what, but I don't even talk to people until they talk to me. So there's no way anything I can be doing anything that could be considered harassment.
Mm. Yeah.
Hope that helps, Mr. Ray Ray.
I think that sounds good too. And we need auditors anymore. I mean, it's obvious that there are many people that have taken an oath to, defend our Constitution, and they are not doing so. Things are not being done properly. And
you take that oath once, and there's no expiration date on the oath. None. I took it. It didn't expire. I'm going to uphold my oath to the Constitution for life. You're going to have to pull my camera right out of my cold, dead hands.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
See you guys.
I appreciate that. It did. It was like getting a hug, honestly. So thank you. And I better close this for tonight, but I will be back in the morning and be talking about cannabis. Anyway, I'm sorry, you guys. I know this is a mess, but I thought this is a good opportunity to remind you guys to have a plan of attack. Write some things down. Know what you are going to do to get yourself through a difficult situation. And you guys have a great night. I love you guys. You can do this. You guys are strong enough. Believe me, you can do this. If I can pull myself out of the hole I was in, you can do it. So anyway, I will talk to you guys in the morning. Have a great night.